Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. As I thought at the SmackDown 1000 that happened this Tuesday on USA, the biggest thing to come out of it was the Evolution reunion. And when it comes down to it, nothing really happened other than one line out of the Batista promo where basically he put over all members of Evolution as being, some of the biggest stars that there was in the history of WWE, basically saying that Randy Orton, was there really left for him to be able to do? Ric Flair, the 16-time world champion, that had done everything there was in wrestling, and Triple H, who is evolving into being the new leader of WWE, but did bring up one footnote to Triple H's career, that he had never beat Batista. And from there, it turned into an epic stare down between the Batista and Triple H, with them basically going face to face before, bracing themselves in for one big hug. But even then, you could see that there was tension inside of the room. I know that people like Brian Alvarez have basically started to break down this Evolution promo, which looks like it's going to be leading towards Batista versus Triple H at WrestleMania. Honestly, in my mind, Batista is a member of the WWE family that, even though he is bridging out into becoming, some sort of a movie star, with him being a part of the Marvel franchise, with Guardians of the Galaxy and other things, that it's almost as if WWE, once they see people start pushing out on their own, builds up this wall. And it's as if you don't need us to get to that next level, we don't need you anymore. I know that The Rock, once basically his WWE contract ended, and there's stories that get built into basically WWE forgetting to renew The Rock's contract because of the fact that he was off making movies. The Rock had his feelings hurt, and that built up a wall between the two that took him years to come back before WrestleMania 27. Batista is a guy that's been very vocal to the point that he wants to be a part of WWE. He feels that he can add something to WWE that a lot of the current stars couldn't bring to the table, and WWE just doesn't return his phone calls. Or as like last year with WrestleMania, Batista was a part of the plan to come in to be a part of the Ronda Rousey versus the Triple H and Stephanie family in the tag match, and at the last minute changed their mind and put Kurt Angle in the match, and never felt like picking up the phone to tell Batista, we're going in a different direction with Kurt. We think that this is something that could really help the WWE Universe at this time, with Kurt Angle coming back and actually having a match at WrestleMania. Just left him out there high and dry. And basically the way that he got the news was either by Twitter or by actually watching Raw. Batista definitely, in my mind, is a WWE Hall of Famer. He should have been a bigger part of the SmackDown 1000. Definitely bringing back Evolution at this point is kind of a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing, honestly, in my opinion. We don't really know when the next time they could do an Evolution reunion, so I do understand that they did that. But if they just would have had Batista come back and have that one-on-one moment with the fans where he was out there by himself delivering his promo, and basically slip that in, that we didn't get to see Triple H's reaction. We didn't get to see Triple H in the same ring as Batista. We know that they're not going to bring this up for a long time, but we could have just had that in the back of our mind. Are they going to do something with that Batista line from his promo, bringing up that Triple H never beat him? Is Triple H fuming about this? Is he down in his basement doing his midnight workouts? And that's what he's got, the picture of Batista up on the wall, trying to figure out if he can get bigger, if he can get better in order to beat Batista and add that to his resume, or what is Triple H even doing with it? And then basically we see Triple H during a promo, and out of the middle of nowhere he throws out a line where he smashes down Batista. And now we're sitting here on pins and needles like, well, when is Batista coming back to WWE to deliver his, comeback response? Is it going to be on Twitter? And is that going to lead to them inviting Batista to Monday Night Raw, much like they did with Goldberg versus Brock, with Goldberg's return for Survivor Series? It could have built the storyline, but instead, it's almost like we saw the whole entire storyline plan out, and now we just have to sit for WrestleMania to see what they do next instead of, having to sort of put it together in our mind. Definitely in my mind, Batista versus Triple H is not going to be the biggest match at WrestleMania. I don't know what they can really do at WrestleMania to have that main event that makes people want to jump up and scream about it. But even though, Triple H has not been in the main event of WrestleMania, he was in the main event of WrestleMania 32. I apologize. The main event, in my mind, for last year's WrestleMania was the Ronda Rousey match. That was the one match that I cared about more than anything else. At WrestleMania 31, it was Triple H versus Sting. Yes, I know I've come out and I've said that Triple H is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, even though he does not have the same sort of fan response on the internet that a lot of people like to get this guy. Almost a lot of things that happened bad during the 2000s and the 2010s, people tend to blame that on Triple H because of his ego, being in the back and burying people and not letting people rise up to the top, a lot like guys like Chris Jericho or even Kurt Angle during his time in WWE. But I honestly thought that when I was paying my money for WWE back in the day, Triple H was the one guy that almost had a great match every time he was out there. And I felt like I really got my money's worth every single time I saw Triple H wrestle. So that's the reason why he's number one to me. And even though he may not be the main event of WrestleMania, he's the one match that I care more about than anything. So at this time, one of the reasons I don't make the trips to WrestleMania is because although I love to see my friends and I love to hang out with them, it's almost the majority of the money that we spend on those trips is on wrestling, for your WrestleMania tickets and for your other show tickets. And I don't really feel like I'm in love with the product enough to even tell you what I think a good main event for WrestleMania would be to close out the show. I am one of those people that is still watching because they bring back guys like Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Batista. Seeing those guys in there still puts a fire in me from what happened back then. And I know they can't bring to the table what they did 10 years ago. And honestly, in my opinion, I don't think Triple H has missed a beat. But I knew Sting wasn't going to be coming back and having the best match of his career that night at WrestleMania 31. But when they did add DX versus the NWO, that covered up a lot of the magic in that match that made it what it was. So I'm really hoping to see Triple H versus Batista. We have the first log thrown into the fire. I hope that WWE builds upon this, and it is one of the biggest matches at WrestleMania 35 in New York.